Hi, my name is Mandy. This is Evie. She's not in a good mood right now. And today we are going to do the Avengers Book Tag. I got my Avengers t-shirt already. There are several versions of this tag out there. I saw quite a few. I am not sure who created the one that I am doing. I saw Mermaid Keely do it on her channel. I'll link that video down below, and she gave me the idea. As she mentions in her video, this tag is a few years old, but hey, go with the times. The final Avengers movie with all of the original cast has just come out, so why not? Evie, she's destroying my bookshelf. Maybe I should wait until nap time. The first question is based on Iron Man, and it is, what is your favorite first book in a series? I came up with a couple of options for this, but the one that I settled on was The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. You see that hand in the background right there? This is what I have to live with. I got that trilogy for my birthday several years ago, and I started reading it that night, and I did not stop until I read all 3 books. I legitimately read 3 books in one night that night. I finished probably around 4 or 5 in the morning. Looking at the synopsis of that book, I thought that it was just a fun summer contemporary book. It is that, but it's so much more. It will make you cry, it will make you laugh, and I love that series. I like it even more than the To All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy. The second question is based on Hulk. A book you can't talk about because it would make me angry, and people don't want to see me when I'm angry. I had a hard time coming up with one for this. I don't think I've read many books in the past few years that have made me angry. I finally settled on one that I read many years ago, and it is Fateful by Claudia Gray. Basically, it takes place on the Titanic, and I have always really enjoyed reading books about the Titanic and set on the Titanic. I was really excited to check out this book. It seemed to have everything that I would wish for in a historical fiction book. But then, halfway through the book, there is a twist. Hopefully I'm not spoiling this for anybody, but it has been out for several years. The big twist? Werewolves. Werewolves on the Titanic. There was nothing at all in the synopsis of the book that led me to believe that I was picking up a werewolf book. That was the thing that made me the most angry. I wasn't picking up a werewolf book, I was picking up a historical fiction book. Even now, I still get angry thinking about how disappointing it was to think I was reading a historical fiction novel only to find out it was a paranormal book and not a historical fiction novel. Really, Evie? What you saying? You agree? That book makes you angry too? It makes everybody angry. Number 3 is based on Captain America, and that is a book that takes place during World War II. This is probably everybody's pick for this prompt, but I choose The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. I read that one for the first time a couple years ago, and I fell in love with the writing style. Most books that take place during World War II do have a sad element to them. It was a very sad time in history. And unless I'm really in the mood, I tend to stay away from those books. But I loved the narrator. The narrator in this book is Death. You can find that out in the first few pages. So I don't think that's a spoiler or anything. And the way that he views the world is really fascinating. It is probably my favorite book set during World War II. Number 4 is based on Thor, and that is a book based on mythology of any kind. I know that this is kind of a cop-out answer, but I had to choose Percy Jackson. I mean, those books are so good. Rick Riordan really brings ancient Greece to the modern age. The books are so funny. Percy is such a funny narrator, and my very favorite part about the books are the chapter titles. Just a few examples of chapter titles in this book. I go cruising with explosives. I drive my dog into a tree. My cookies get scorched. This one is the last book in the series. It's a little more serious, but chapter titles are seriously awesome in this series. It's one thing I miss in the later series that Rick Riordan does, because those are all multi-points of view, and Percy's my homeboy. Prompt number 5 is based on Black Widow. It is a side character that you want to see have its own movie book. The first person that came to mind actually already has his own book. It was Nikolai from the Shadow and Bone trilogy. But I found out that he is getting his own series. The King of Scars duology is all about him. I think that I will be reading that after I read Six of Crows. For a character that hasn't gotten their own book yet, I was thinking Calliope from Lola and the Boy Next Door. Calliope is kind of mean in the book, but her brother, Cricket, is awesome. So I think there's definitely a lot more to her story that could be told. I want to see the real Calliope. I don't want to just see somebody else's perception of her. I think that she would make a great subject for a future book. Question number 6 is about Hawkeye, a book you love but everyone else seems to hate. For this one, I've chosen The Selection by Kiera Cass. This book series gets a lot of hate. A lot of people are annoyed by the characters, but I actually find it really fun. It's not the best book series I've ever read, but it is certainly not the worst. I think that it's a lot of fun. It's Hunger Games meets The Bachelor. I enjoy the romance in it. I also enjoy the world that it's set in. The whole series was very satisfying to me. I was happy with the ending. I will admit that I was not as fond as the sequel series starring her daughter. Number 7 is based on Nick Fury, a character who has a lot of sass. For this prompt, I'm going to have to go with the book version of Harry Potter. Movie version of Harry Potter is not very sassy at all, but book is definitely. I picked out a passage to read to show just how sassy Harry is. This is a part where Harry is in the middle of Defense Against the Dark Arts class with Snape. And we all know how great Snape is during class. Do you remember me telling you we are practicing non-verbal spells, Potter? Yes, said Harry stiffly. Yes, sir. There's no need to call me sir, Professor. The words had escaped him before he even knew what he was saying. If that's not sassy, I don't know what is. Are you done? Okay, I'll finish this after you're down for nap. Question number 8 is based on Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, a book that has a great sibling relationship. I only read this one for the first time very recently, and that is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. That series is all about the sibling relationships. In fact, as I was reading it, I was thinking to myself, why aren't there more sibling relationships in books? The most important thing to the characters is family, and family is super important to me as well. That's why Lady Midnight and all the Blackthorn kids really hold a place in my heart, because there are so many book series where there are no siblings and where siblings don't play an important role. My runner-up siblings are the brothers from Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. I can't remember their names, and I don't have a copy of the book to check that out. We start out the book with the brothers seeming a little selfish, they're different. Eliza doesn't really get along with them, but we find out by the end that they really have her back, and I think that that is so true to life. So many times we invent a reason not to like someone in our heads, and when we take the time to get to know them, we realize that they can be our best friends. Number 9 is based on Phil Coulson, Agent Coulson for those who may not have been paying attention. A book that you wish would be adapted for the big or small screen. All of them? Well, really, all of the ones that I've ever liked. Since I have to narrow it down, I have chosen 2. And those are my 2 favorite Sarah Dessen books, Along for the Ride and Just Listen. I think they could make some really good movies out of those 2 books, not put together, separate. Netflix has been doing really well with chick flicks recently, and I think that they could make some great chick flicks based on these 2 Sarah Dessen books. Number 10 is based on Loki. That is a villain you can't help but love. I had a hard time with this one. I couldn't quite figure anything out, but I finally decided on Peter Pan from the Wendy Darling series by Colleen Oakes. I don't know how many people have actually read that book. It is not as popular as others, but one of my favorite stories is Peter Pan. It is so tragic and beautiful, so I always really like retellings of it. In this version, Peter Pan becomes the villain. Think about it. He will never grow up. He will never die. That kind of power doesn't come to someone who doesn't pay a terrible price for it. But in the book, he is so maniacal and vicious and strangely innocent that you can't help but love him as a villain character. I may not have been rooting for Peter Pan to win in that one, but I definitely enjoyed reading him. A bonus question on this tag is Ant-Man. What is the next book on your TBR? I'm currently reading The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, which has some fantasy elements. After that, I think I want to move on to a nice contemporary novel. I think that next book is going to be The Geography of Lost Things by Jessica Brody. This is a road trip book where a girl has to go on a road trip with her ex-boyfriend. I'm sure that awkwardness ensues, but also hopefully a little bit of romance. I will be reading this next. In addition to reading a physical book, I always like to have an audiobook to listen to as well. Being a mom, there's a lot of time when I have to focus on my baby, but I can still listen to things, so that is where audiobooks come in. The next audiobook that I will be listening to is Layer of Dreams by Libba Bray. It is the second book in the Diviner series. There was a wait for it at my library, but I just got it a couple days ago, so as soon as I finish the book I'm reading, I will start on Layer of Dreams. I hope you enjoyed talking about the Avengers a little bit with me today. Avengers Endgame filled my heart with so much love. Honestly, I would be totally happy if they never made another Marvel movie again. Let's be honest though, Disney makes a lot of money off of Marvel movies, and so we will never have an end. In 20 years, we're going to be on like the 5th generation of Marvel movies. But hey, did you hear that Chris Hemsworth signed on for a bunch more Marvel movies? At least there are some constants in this life. If you liked what you saw here today, feel free to subscribe. Let me know what your favorite Avengers character is. I think mine might be a tie between Captain America and Spider-Man, for very different reasons. Also, you can check out my social media, which I will link below. Make sure that after this you have a great day.